Siddarth, here's the problem. Now, the one standard academic response would be, as we just heard from Amita Vatal, that can there be questions that are ungoogleable, if there was such a word? The reality is that with the kind of technical prowess that ChatGPT has, it's unlikely that there is anything which is ungoogleable or something which ChatGPT can't get through. You ask any question, you say, how do you think? And he'll tell you how, you possibly think on that issue if you feed in the right kind of variables to go with it. And that really makes it much more complex, not just finding something which isn't on Google. It's a far bigger problem than that.
So actually, Rahul, that's actually a fantastic question. I think the only answer to that is that we actually need to ask ChatGPT, how do we prevent ChatGPT from corrupting an entire generation of youth that's actually coming online right now. But I think, but jokes aside, see, the entire point of education is actually prepare you for the real world. Now, nowhere in the real world does anyone actually ask you, okay, give me Newton's first law, second law, third law, tell me about Archimedes' principle, etc. Our entire life is about the application of the cumulative knowledge that we have and using the tools that are actually available to us. So rather than trying to fight the march of progress, which actually encourages our students to use actually tools like this to come out with new and innovative means of actually answering questions and of actually learning itself. Learning is not the process of memorizing facts and actually regurgitating it for an exam.
No, but what you're saying is correct, but that's not the Indian education system. Let's assume that there's a finely developed liberal arts system where such critical thinking is encouraged. It's a different matter. India is what it is at this moment. This tool is here. Sooner than later, and especially in the way that digital technologies are proliferating, Ayush, people will be using this tool across the length and the breadth of the country. It's not as if it's only a problem in New York. Very soon it will be a problem in Darbhanga, it will be a problem in Dumka, it will be a problem in Idiki, it will be a problem everywhere.
True. Very, very true. And I think, see, that's the entire part about it. We need to teach our students how to do this. And I think the biggest disruption to Indian education wasn't the internet. It's actually going to be ChatGPT, because it actually breaks the entire power of the schools and the teachers about controlling the student. Now, the student no longer has to spend hours upon hours sitting and writing that. A few lines for that matter, and they can answer all their homework within a span of about 15-20 minutes itself. So the Indian education system is going to be forced to adapt. Banning it is not going to work. There are enough ways to circumvent the ban. So I think this is the critical moment for Indian education.
But my fear, Kanish Gaur, is that the idea that the Indian education system needs to change is a very old idea. People have been talking about it for a very long time and it hasn't changed. For the most part, in most schools and colleges, education is still knowledge-based, information-driven, dependent on rote, and that is exactly what ChatGPT can help you with.
I think this is the moment where Indian education is going to be forced to actually change. And I think this is the inflection point. I think the new education policy should actually relook at using these kind of tools when it comes to imparting education.
Amita Vatal, you've got Siddarth saying that this is the biggest disruption in the education system. Are teachers, principals, academics ready for such a disruption, or do you at this moment think it's a bit overstated?
No, I do think it's a bit overstated, because I think every era, every year we're coming up with something new which we are consistently dealing with, and we're putting it behind us and we're taking it forward.
Ma'am, have you used this tool? Can I just suggest, once you get over the show?
I just want to share with you that I've just gone through the whole thing.
Okay.
And in fact, the interesting thing is, and I just want to share this with you, that I had asked, just for the sake of it, I had just asked a question related to violence and racism, and it did not comment. So that gave me a certain amount of hope. It did not comment. So there are issues that sometimes maybe it has issues about free speech or something, but it did not comment when I asked a direct question on violence or racism.
So they put those controls, but say, ask him to write an essay for you on the first war of Indian independence. He'll give you an essay. Now what do you do with that?
No.
If you ask him to write an essay in the style of Shakespeare, he'll write an essay in the style of Shakespeare.
Rahul, but then you see, you have to understand one thing, that you have to circumvent systems like this. You have to also absorb them into your educational system. As a speaker before me has said, you can't just dismiss them. There are ways and means of working around them, irrespective of what the education system is. We have educated people, we have scientists, we have doctors. I mean, we just cannot dismiss an entire nation's education system by saying that, where it is what it is. It has had some very wonderful aspects to it. There are people still learning, there are people still engaging, there are people who are running universities, who are eking out existences. So it's not as though we have a dismissive education system. The point is that as a community, as a group of people, we have over the years, through our very meager means, or because technology really has not in this way hit every town and every cluster and every zilla of this country, because of the fact, as I mentioned, we don't have that kind of help, but yet we have been able to circumvent, to absorb, to create hybrid models. And I think today it's chat-gpt, tomorrow it will be some other GPT, but we will have to consistently move on. And I believe that every system that we have gone towards, starting from Google, or whether it was Facebook or Insta or Snapchat or any other app that in the beginning we got very tense about, somewhere or the other, some aspect of it we have integrated into our lives in a positive manner and try to see that it becomes as positive as possible. I mean, from a tool of a pencil to what we are finding today, we have, civilization has grown and been able to sort of take some and leave some. And that's what life is all about. And that's
at
what
this moment, Amitabh Atal is saying, I'm sure we'll find a way around this. I have my doubts, because this is much more disruptive than Google, much more disruptive than TikTok or Snapchat. This is a big challenge. Make no mistake, the capabilities of artificial intelligence at this moment are going to change how teachers need to grade students in class. It cannot be the way it was, and in India it's much easier to talk of change, and change can happen in more evolved schools. But I've studied in all kinds of schools across the country. There are evolved schools and not so evolved schools, and where you just check whether somebody can get you an answer or not, and here that is a real problem.